Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How are you today? I've been having some classes in the evening, so I got so used to saying evening. So today's 5th of July. Yeah, 5th of July. Yesterday was US Independence Day. Happy Independence Day to our brothers and sisters in US. And Singapore's National Day will be next month. In a few days' time, we'll be having a special day in Singapore. Today's topic is prayers in our life. Prayers in our life. Let's see. Yeah. The volunteer gave me a few topics to choose from. One was obstacles in cultivation. Another was what are the Bodhisattva vows. And then the next one is how to deal with aversion. And the last one is meditation and a wholesome mind. Yeah. So I thought, I think during this period, a lot of people do a lot of prayers. Yeah. So I thought I want to just do a session on the prayers that we have in our life. I think I wonder whether prayers are a natural thing for human beings. In a way, when we are young and we call out for our mothers, when there's a thunderstorm and we wake up in the middle of the night. I remember when I was young, I would wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes when there's thunderstorm. Then I will dash into my parents' bedroom and try to squeeze into the bed when I was like a toddler. Is that a toddler? I think when I was in kindergarten, small little kid, run in and then just dive in and try to seek comfort. Seek comfort in the presence of our parents. In a way, that would be our earliest prayers, calling out to our father, to our mother. The shortest prayer, Ma. What does prayers mean to us, and what are the kind of prayers we have in our life? When do we do prayers, and what is the significance of prayers in Buddhism? So I can't speak for everybody. So perhaps if you have thoughts about this topic, you all can also post onto the comments, and share the kind of prayers that you all do. So I think for me, the earliest form of prayers that I make would be to call out to my mother, to seek comfort, to seek refuge in her, to protect me, or to seek assurance. Prayers come in various forms. As I said, the shortest is just calling out the name of the person who can render us assistance, protection and help. So the shortest is Ma. That's the shortest form of prayers. Then at some point, I recall my mom, asking us to be involved in doing formal prayers. So bring us to the temple and pray, and then at some point at home we have our own altar. The earliest altar that I can remember was really just a plywood with the angle bar fixed to the wall, and the Guan Yin Pusa statue up there. Yeah. And I think we also have one more in the kitchen where our ancestors' tablet, or it's just if I don't recall wrongly, it's basically a piece of almost like a frame, no photos, but just the words. Yeah, like basically our 阿公、自己公、老祖公、老祖妈, yeah, basically our ancestors, grandfather, the grand uncle, the grandmother, 阿公、自己公、老祖公、老祖妈, yeah. So the grandfather, grand uncle, then the great grand uncle, great grandmother. Yeah, that was before my grandmother passed away. So every year we would have the Qingming or the death anniversary. We'll do our prayers. More like we'll do offering of like a meal, and then vaguely remember to the prayer would be in the form of inviting them to come and have a meal. But that's ancestor worship. Yeah. Do they really come and pray or come to eat? As a Buddhist, we will hope not, because if they do, then it means that they are in the ghost realm. Yeah. Ghost in Buddhism it's not that human beings die and definitely become a ghost. Ghost is a separate state of existence, and for those with strong attachment, then they get reborn in that state, abide temporarily. Yeah. Then once that karmic force is worn out, then they get reborn again. But we still do that kind of prayers. So that kind of prayers. There's also in the process we may also pray that our ancestors will bless us. Yeah. So it involves a kind of beseeching. Yeah. That's one kind of prayer, to ask for help. Yeah, ask for help. And it can be asking for help for ourselves, yeah, or it can be asking for help for others. Then of course there's the famous verse that I shared oftentimes in class. It goes something like that. Namo Guan Yin Posat, Futso Bobi Tiki Dwaswe Pinghan Sun Sun Baba Dwatan. Always bring a smile to me, and sometimes bring a chuckle to the class, because somehow it seems like that's the standard verse that all the mothers teach the children back in the 60s and 70s. Yeah, I don't know what the younger couples teach their children now. Yeah, but there was a verse that I recited day in, day out. Yeah. And initially it was just reciting. And then of course over time you get to sort of think about, okay, what that really means. So Namo Guan Yin Posat. So for the longest time we've said Namo without really knowing what that means also. Yeah. Then later we come in contact with Theravada Buddhism. Oh, Namo. And then later on we learn about the translation, which is it means homage. Yeah. Then later I become a monk and I learned that in the original word has a few meanings. Yeah, which is, one is to turn towards, to rely on, to take refuge in. Yeah, and of course to pay homage. Yeah. So, but at that age, we just say this without really thinking much. Yeah. So, Namo Guan Se Im Posat. Huzo Popi. So, Namo Guan Se Im Posat. So, Guan Se Im Posat, which is Guan Se Im Posat in Hokkien. Yeah, because I'm a Hokkien, my mom, although she's a Teochew, she will teach us everything in Hokkien. So, homage to Guan Sim Bodhisattva, or Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, if you will. And then Huzo. So this is the interesting part. So we refer to Guan Sim Pusa as Huzo, which actually translates to Chinese as Fozu. So which basically refers to the Buddha. Yeah, Buddha, the Lineage Master. So it's interesting because for some reason, even back then, we referred to Guan Sim Pusa as a Buddha without really thinking about it. Yeah. Or maybe it was that we refer to Guan Sim Pusa and also Buddha. Yeah. But we didn't really ask much. There wasn't much explanation. Yeah. So that's the other feature about prayers last time. You just say it. You don't ask what it means, why we do it, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And this is more to do with the Chinese culture than Buddhism. Yeah. In Chinese culture, there's this sense of fear and reverence towards the spiritual realm. Yeah. 于与鬼神敬而远之. Yeah. I remember many a times where as a child, when we have prayers for ancestors, or we go to temples, and last time we go to Taoist temple, we go to Buddhist temples, and being kids, we are naturally curious about things. Yeah, it's not that Asian kids don't ask questions, it's that we don't get to ask questions. It's that when we ask questions, we get scolded, so we stop asking. Yeah. So it's not that more kids are more curious about things, that they are more creative. It's that at least in Singapore, those kids who grew up in the 60s, 70s, we have our questions being, quietened. Yeah. Not all questions, fortunately, but especially the questions about spirituality. Because, during those festives, when we have our prayers for ancestors, so then to the child, this is something very new. Although we do it once a year, every year is something new, because kids sometimes forgetful. So when you suddenly like, how come today there's a feast? Then you ask, ma, then like, this is a very benign question, right? Yeah. So but our parents or uncles and aunties will be like freaking out, like, oh, no, don't ask. Like anything you ask, how come we have oranges today? How come like this? How come? Kids will ask all kinds of questions. I suspect sometimes it's because the parents are afraid of undesirable consequences. That whatever we say in the process has to be in the form of reverence, in the form of prayer, has to be respectful. And then the question of what is respectful, right? So they are very afraid of offending the spiritual realm. Yeah. But in Buddhism, there's no such a notion. Yeah. Buddhas don't have. Buddhas are boundlessly compassionate. They don't go around punishing people for saying the wrong things. Having said that, if we do things, say things out of contempt, we are planting the seeds, that results in undesirable consequences for ourselves. So it's not that the enlightened ones, the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, nothing better to do, sit around and then, like have a little black book, take note. Okay, Chuan Guan, ask strange questions. Okay, mark. Next life punishment. No. So quite safe. Feel free to ask questions. Yeah. So prayers. So that prayer, Namo观世音菩萨，护照保庇. So there's the idea that in prayers we can seek blessing, yeah, from somebody else, from outside to inside. Yeah. For some higher being. In Buddhism, then we look up to the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, for protection, or sometimes even the Devas, yeah, because in the suttas it says that some Devas have pledged their service to the Buddha because they have benefited from the teachings. They consider themselves to be disciples as well, and their lifespan is very long, so they can really be around to give assistance to the Buddha's disciples. So sometimes in our prayers we will ask for blessing and protection. Yeah, 护照保庇. So at that age, and for most people, the idea is, okay, you ask for help, yeah, and ask for blessing, ask for protection. Protect who? Sometimes it's to protect ourselves, sometimes it's to protect the family. In this case, 护照保庇一家大小. Yeah, the whole family, 大小, big and small, from the old elders to the youngest. Yeah, 一家大小平安顺顺. Yeah, that the whole family be safe, and for things to go smoothly. Then the last one, the last one is the favorite, Papa Tua Tan. I don't know whether my mom add that in. Yeah, that your father would have would earn big bucks. Yeah. There was a period of time where I felt quite ashamed of this prayer. Yeah, like very uncouth, you know, very what do you call that? Very low class. Feels very strange to say such a thing. But over the years, I start to appreciate that this prayer is not that bad, because it reflects on the very simple requests, yeah, that people have, just to have safety, for things to go smoothly, yeah, and if possible, last but not least, if my father can earn a bit more money, yeah, very simple. Never say earn millions of dollars, just make big bucks. But first and foremost, be safe. Yeah, very kind intent. So over the years, I realized that perhaps that indirectly started us on metta, the cultivation of loving kindness and compassion. The way it's phrased may not be so atas, may not be so poetic compared to may all beings be well and happy. Yeah, but I think the direction is the same, the essence is the same. Yeah, that the family, yeah, from the elders to the youngest, be safe, and for things to go smoothly. And most importantly is that this is not a prayer just for yourself. So it gets you to care for your family. Yeah. So over the years, I start to actually share this in class and get people to revisit this prayer. You don't have to include the Papa Tua Tan if you don't want to. Yeah. But I think the front part is very meaningful. Yeah. So because it gets us to start off with on the path of loving kindness and compassion. Yeah. But besides that, what other prayers do we do? I think for me personally, the other kind of prayer that I do very sincerely is the ones that I do just before exams. Yeah, just before exams. Then, like as in like literally outside the exam hall, and then everybody is just waiting to go in, and then you're like praying very sincerely, and then the invigilator come out and tell us that okay, you all can go in now. And as you're walking in, your heart is like really pounding, and you're making a prayer, Namo Guan Sin Pusa, Namo Guan Sin Pusa, Namo Guan Sin Pusa. Please. Yeah. I think that's when you are super sincere. And in this case, it's a bit more just for ourselves. So, when I also get to, as a monk, I get invited to families' house to do home visits, or to do hospital visits, to do either counseling or prayers or both for patients, whether they had an accident, or they are terminally ill, or they are in their final hours or days. Sometimes it's cancer patients. So when I go down, I don't just go in and just jump straight into do chanting. I will usually preface the chanting with some explanation of what we are about to chant, so that they understand and they do it with the right mindset. And then I would also, when doing dedication, get them to think about how, as we walk through the wards, it's not just your family members suffering. There are countless individuals who come in and out of the hospital, who is in pain, who is in discomfort, who is suffering. So when we do our prayers to encompass, to encompass not just our family member, but those in the same ward, in the beds around, on the same floor, the floor above, the floor below, the multiple floors, the whole building, to encompass even those in other buildings around, to encompass even the hospital staff, the nurses, the doctors, to encompass those who are visiting, to basically then slowly extend to include all sentient beings. In Buddhism, the progression of prayers often follow this path. The process of dedication always goes in this direction. Starting with ourselves, our immediate concern, those who we care for, and then slowly radiating out. The notion is, when you do dedication, we are sharing something wholesome. So it is like sharing the light of our candle. By sharing the light will not diminish. But many can share in that light, and be protected, be comforted. But it depends on whether they can connect with that teaching, whether they can connect with those, that something wholesome, something that is of the kindness and compassion, loving kindness and compassion. So in Buddhism, when we do prayers, there's this kind of prayers. So where we kind of have a intent to help someone, then we do some prayers. But strictly speaking, in Buddhism, whenever we do the so-called chanting, the prayers is a bit different from what is done in some other schools or other religion. So Like for example, sometimes the so-called prayers that we do is actually reciting the teachings, the utterance of truth that the Buddha has made before. Yeah, the teachings he has given. And when we say teachings that he has given, many times it is actually a dialogue of between the Buddha and somebody else, whether it's Brahmins, whether it's some of the ascetics, all his disciples, lay and monastics alike. And it often starts off with a question, then the Buddha reply. Or sometimes it's a question posed to a disciple of the Buddha, and then they would reply. And so the purpose in Buddhism when we recite these verses is that these are verses of truth, and by reciting them we can be exposed to the teachings of truth, to learn about it and to commit to memory. The first thing that happens when we recite is that we rekindle the teachings in our mind. So sometimes we recite with the book, and then sometimes we have committed it to memory. That is refreshing the teachings. So we see that when we do that, then there's something wholesome, because it's pointing us towards the truth. And in Buddhism, the emphasis on truth, the wisdom that realizes the truth, is utmost. It stems from from what the Buddha observed, that our suffering comes about from ignorance, defilements. It comes from our attachment. So by learning about the truth, the reality, then we can reduce and remove the attachment. So sometimes the teaching is about the truth, sometimes the teaching is about certain mindset, certain qualities, to cultivate, to practice. So for example, when we recite let's say the Buddha's name, or when we recite one of the Bodhisattva's name, let's say Guan Yin Pusa, or we recite a mantra, like Om Mani Padme Hum, the 6 syllables mantra, or we recite the Great Compassionate Mantra. So similarly, it goes through a certain process. So initially we recite hoping to get blessing from it, hoping that Guan Yin Pusa will come and rescue us. Then later on, as we recite, we extend it to helping others, not just ourselves. But in Buddhism, we don't stop there. In Buddhism, towards the later stage, when we pray to become the prayer, in a sense. In a sense that we pray to, that means we aspire to become the solution in the prayer. So instead of praying for Guan Yin Pusa to come and help us and help others, we make the aspiration. It becomes more like an intent. Both are intent, but the initial part is intent for Guan Yin Pusa to come and help us. Later on, it becomes intent to become like Guan Yin Pusa to help others, to become the Guan Yin Pusa in other people's life, to become the Buddha, the Bodhisattva in other people's life, to become the wholesome friend in other people's life, to be the 贵人 in other people's life. I think traditional Chinese prayers sometimes have this well-wishing, that 出爱遇贵人. There should be a second part, which is 出爱做贵人. So not just always going out to hope that you meet someone who can benefit you, to meet your benefactor, but to aspire to become a benefactor when you go out. Because if everybody is looking for a benefactor, who is going to be the benefactor, right? I mean, you think about it, only makes sense, right? Yeah. So to have that aspiration, to become a benefactor for others, to be a wholesome friend for others, yeah, to be a solution for others than a problem for others. But in Buddhism, we don't just start and end with a prayer. We start with the aspiration, and then follow up with the practices to materialize, to make good that prayer. So 以愿导行，以行满愿. So 以愿导行. So when we make our prayers, it's basically saying, let me set forth a direction. Yeah, I set forth a direction that is where I want to be headed. Yeah. When we say we want something to happen, that means that's the direction. Then after that we say, okay, what, based on that direction, what are the things I should do? Yeah. If I want to become a benefactor for others, I must have the ability to benefit others. Yeah. I must have the ability to identify people's strengths and weaknesses. I must have the means to help others. I must also have the qualities, the skill set, the intelligence, the wisdom, to be able to guide others, to help others. I must have the compassion to do so. I must have the patience to do so. I must have a lot of resources to do so. I must have the mental capacity, the mental strength to do so, the tenacity, the resilience to do so. And if you look at all this, then it is none other than the 6 paramita. 布施、持戒、忍辱、精进、禅定、般若. Then it makes sense why there's this 6 perfection. Because this 6 perfection is what will enable you to become a benefactor to others. Is what will allow you to become a good, wholesome friend to others. Is what will allow you to become Guan Yin Pusa for others. In Buddhism, being a Bodhisattva, being a Buddha, is not just a nice idea. It's not just empty talk. You need to follow up with the actions, the practice to develop yourself. And that's why we emphasize so much on developing ourselves, the qualities, and also accumulating merits. For many people, the idea of accumulating merits is like, this is a very selfish intent. It's not. I used to think that way also. But over time I realized that, if you yourself is lacking in merit, how do you help others? You don't have the means, you don't have the resources. So nothing wrong with accumulating merits. The question is, what do you do with the merits? Do you accumulate merits, cultivate merits just for yourself? If cultivating merits is wrong, then it's like saying studying is wrong. Why do you study so hard? You selfish, or you want to get A? Well, maybe for some people they have purely self-centered intent. They just want to study hard, get A to flaunt. But it doesn't mean that everybody must do that. There are some people who study hard so that they can master the subjects well, in order to be able to benefit others with their knowledge and skill set. So why not? So during this period, we are not quite out of the COVID-19 yet. So I think perhaps this is something that we can do. To include in our prayers, to become a source of help for others, to be a Bodhisattva for others. And recently, I've been sharing this crazy idea. every morning after your prayers, after your meditation, to do 5 minutes of daydreaming. Yeah. To daydream yourself to be a bodhisattva. Yeah. Just imagine, okay? Yeah. Because we are not enlightened yet. So you just imagine. Imagine if I'm enlightened, then with the enlightened wisdom, how would I look at my day today? How can I benefit people today? And then think about yesterday, the week before, the troubles that I had. Yeah. If I'm enlightened, how would I deal with them? Yeah. Being enlightened, yeah, using the wisdom of the enlightened ones, yeah. Like let's say to contemplate on how all formations are impermanent, or to contemplate that everything is empty in nature, yeah, that there's nothing that you can grasp onto, then how would you look at it differently? Just 5 minutes. And then after that, after it's done, it's okay. Go back to being unenlightened. Continue to quarrel with people if you want to. In the various traditions, there is such a practice, although a bit more formal. Like in the Tibetan tradition, there is this visualization that you are the guru. We always pray, oh, may the guru come and help us, like the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. But there's a form of practice where you visualize yourself being the guru. But it's not being proud, oh, I'm the guru, you all must bow down, no. But it's to consider, to put yourself in the shoes of a guru, and then to say, if you are the guru, if you are the Bodhisattvas, then how can you benefit others? We cannot do it yet, but just try. Test drive. Because if you wait until you are enlightened, then it may take a while. So before that, test drive. It's, as I shared yesterday in class, it's just like before you go for a trip. Like let's say you think of going to Japan, you think of going to China, you think of going to Europe. Before you go, you are fantasizing, right? You fantasize on how wonderful it is. You look at photos, you look at friends' photos, you look at Instagram, you look at the brochures. You're fantasizing, yeah. But that creates that motivation, yeah, that energy, that effort, and then you will materialize it. And then one day, you are there. And then you enjoy the view, you enjoy the sights, and then you eat this, eat that, and you come back. The difference is that when you go on a trip, when you come back, that's it. All you get is your memory, nothing more, nothing less. But if you visualize yourself going on a different trip, on a trip to enlightenment, and then visualize yourself being enlightened. One day, when you do get enlightened, then there's one trip that you don't turn back. You become enlightened, you don't turn back anymore. So, prayers in our life. Prayers in our life. Sometimes I also wonder, like there are some volunteers, some students who attend my classes regularly, and I ask myself, what else can I teach them? How else can I benefit them? I realize that sometimes I also don't know. I say I don't know in the sense that in a sense I know, but in a sense I don't know, because I feel that everything that has been taught by the Buddha has been taught already. Yeah. So unless students actively come to me, yeah, whether they are volunteers or not, unless they actively come to me and share with me what they would like to know, otherwise, yeah. But I hope that, especially for volunteers, that they don't take it as just work, that's just an errand, as a chore, but that they take this opportunity to have first-hand access to the Dharma. Yeah. Because normal devotees, they seldom would have access to come and text me and say, Sifu, how about this topic? Although actually you all can. But strange thing is that very few people do that. Yeah. Very few people do that. Some students do, but it's always that one or two students. The rest, just backbenchers. Yeah. Just, fan-sitter, just sit there. So I don't know, yeah. So if there's a prayer I have, would be for them to have the courage to speak up, to ask for Dharma. Yeah. And if, let's say, like in the Avatamsaka Sutra, there's this teaching, or in there's this teaching about 三才童子五三参. That if, let's say, everything that I can teach a student has already been taught, then I should have the ability and wisdom to point them to the next teacher. Yeah. Or should they find that they have learned everything they need, then they should go and find the next teacher. Then they can progress. Otherwise, it's just while you may feel very comfortable in primary school, but once you have finished your primary 1 to primary 6, then it's time to go to secondary school. Yeah. And then you can learn more. Yeah. Yeah, someone must teach primary school. So SGC is like primary school. No advanced topic. Yeah, very mundane topics. So even the prayers, you see, the prayers I talk about is all very mundane one. So I hope this session has, for those who are new to prayers, can give you food for thought, and perhaps kindle you to be more active in your prayers, and to go beyond the self-centered prayers to another level of prayers, which is to embody the prayer. And for those who have been around, take it as a revision. Actually, there's quite a bit of comments here. There is a request to explain 愿消三障诸烦恼. Yeah. Can. We'll leave that for next week. Okay? Ingwi Teo. Let me put a heart shape there. So next week we'll discuss this topic. Yeah. 愿消三障诸烦恼. Our dedication. Alright? And also, just a heads up, so the SGC live will continue until end of July. August, September, October, I'll be having a 3 months retreat, so all classes will be suspended. The volunteers, I've tasked the volunteers to brainstorm as to what they can do in these 3 months. Yeah. So I leave you all in their safe hands. They can also invite other venerables to conduct classes online and then post it onto the SGC, as part of the SGC programs. But I leave it to them. Okay. So today is the 5th. So we have 12, 19, 26. Yeah, 12, 19, 26. Yeah, 3 more weeks. Oh, so till then, 阿弥陀佛。愿消三障诸烦恼，愿得智慧真明了，普愿罪障悉消除，世世常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。